welcome back to our Christmas podcast, Joy to the World, produced by Powell United Methodist Church. I'm Rachel Parfenchuk, Director of Music Ministries.
And I'm Kim LaRue, her partner, the Director of Adult Ministries here at Powell United Methodist Church. And we love doing these, so we're glad that you're joining us for these Christmas podcasts.
Yeah, so today we are going to be talking about a piece of music that I imagine most people have at least heard, if not sung in their lifetime, which is The Carol of the Bells. It's one of my personal favorite Christmas music pieces to sing. So The Carol of the Bells, which many people might not know, is actually a tune from Ukraine. Let's back up a little bit. So the actual tune for Carol of the Bells is not called Carol of the Bells. It's not a translation. This is a completely different text.
Okay.
So the original... Oh, and I think I actually forgot. Did I say that we were celebrating the 100th anniversary of this song?
I don't know if you did, but that's great.
Yes.
How perfect.
So this is part of the reason we chose it is because it is the 100th anniversary of this song. And so to go back to kind of its origins, this song was written by a man named Mykola Leontovich, which I had Pastor Katya help me, and I still think I butchered it. But anyway, so this song was composed not to be a Christmas song, but it actually was kind of a folk song celebrating the coming of spring.
Oh, yeah.
And bounty, and it would actually be sung for the Ukrainian New Year. So still in wintertime, but it's singing for the coming of spring and that idea. So it was called Shendrik.
Okay.
And it's the song that tells the tale of a swallow flying into a household to proclaim a year of plenty that the family will have. So it really is very similar to, what we celebrate during Thanksgiving, which is this idea of bounty and being thankful and all of that. So that's the original text, the original Ukrainian text for this song.
So let me connect that for 1 second here. So one of the interesting things to me is that we all think that the calendar's been the same forever, right? And in reality, there are multiple calendars that have been used over time. And so to connect this idea that this song was done at the New Year, hoping for the spring, and then how did it become a Christmas thing? The Ukrainian traditions, as I understand a few of them, Christmas is typically celebrated on January 6th, which we celebrate as Epiphany, the end of the Christmas season. And that has come about for multiple reasons, but one of them is that the Ukrainian calendar was the Julian calendar for many, many years. Well, we operate under the Gregorian calendar. Why does that happen? It just does, especially in a time when there's no internet, there's no standardization, which is not a bad thing. They just developed on their own. In addition to the fact that the Ukrainian culture from Christianity is what we would call Eastern Christianity. They would be called the Ukrainian Orthodox Church, which anytime we have that word Orthodox in our Christian traditions, it typically means the Eastern Church. And that happened around 1054 when the church split. So the Roman Catholic Church went one way because their pope went one way, and the Eastern Orthodox Church went another way. The reason that happened is long and complicated, like everything else we've talked about in this podcast. But it basically had to do with the fact that both of them declared themselves pope, and you can't have two popes at the same time. So it became two parts of the Christian church. So it's from the Ukrainian Orthodox Church that our Ukrainian friends typically celebrate their Christianity. Comes through that tradition. And again, that was on January 6th. So it's just interesting that all of these dates kind of coincide, they kind of fit together. And then, as happens always throughout history, I think, is that people write different texts and put them with different tunes. And so that's another part of what's happened here for various reasons.
Yeah, so this, like we noted earlier, this originally was not a Christmas song. It was a New Year song singing for the bounty of the coming spring. But this piece became quite popular and was performed all around the world as this song of bounty and the New Year celebration for spring. So what happened was the piece, I believe, was performed at Carnegie Hall. And I'm not certain if this is where the person who changed the text heard it or someplace else, but it eventually made its way to the United States. And then American choir director and arranger Peter Wilhowsky, he heard the piece, and it reminded him of bells and reminded him of a feeling of Christmas. So that is when he took the original melody and arranged it to this different text that we know so well today. So that's where that association with Christmas comes from. So it really is interesting to think about the fact that it is only a Christmas song because we here in the United States decided it was a Christmas song, even though they celebrated Christmas in Ukraine.
Yes. And so let's look at some scriptures that connect to this. And I'm going to go back to the prophet Zechariah. Zechariah was a prophet to the folks in Israel, giving them hope when they were hopeless. And as Christians, we look back on these prophecies and say, oh, that was referring to Jesus. So listen to these and see what you think. This is from Zechariah 9, verse 9, and then I'm going to go to a different part of Zechariah. Rejoice greatly, O daughter Zion. Shout aloud, O daughter Jerusalem. Lo, your king comes to you. Triumphant and victorious is he, humble and riding on a donkey, a colt, a foal of a donkey. So, of course, for those of us in our time and place, we think of that as Jesus. You can do it two ways. You can either think of it at the time of his birth, because tradition says that Mary was riding a donkey to get to Bethlehem, or you could think of it as Palm Sunday. But Zechariah is pointing definitely to a king who is humble, someone who is coming to us in a different way than most kings do. And then I'm going to go to Zechariah 14. And Rachel, one of the things that I have loved about this piece, Carol of the Bells, is to hear it with a handbell choir. And cool. All of the just the amazing arrangements that have been done for it in handbells. And again, the person that wrote the text was hearing that in his head, and to hear it in reality is really beautiful. So here's a text from Zechariah again, Zechariah 14, 20 to 21, that speaks to that. On that day there shall be inscribed on the bells of the horses, Holy to the Lord. And the cooking pots in the house of the Lord shall be as holy as the bowls in front of the altar. And every cooking pot in Jerusalem and Judah shall be sacred to the Lord of hosts, so that all who sacrifice may come and use them and boil the flesh of the sacrifice. And there shall no longer be traitors in the house of the Lord of hosts that day. Another piece of the celebration that I uncovered for Ukrainians is there's a 40-day fast before Christmas. So by the time you get to Christmas, there is this huge feast celebrating that Christmas has come. It's a 12-course meal. So that passage just reminded me of some of the Christmas traditions in the Ukrainian culture.
That is really interesting. And, even though this really became a Christmas song here in the United States, when you look at the actual text of the song, throw cares away, Christmas is here, bringing good cheer, too young and old. The whole song is singing about the coming of Christmas being here. And to think about how after a 40-day fast, that certainly would be a celebration as well,
Yeah.
It's just this idea of this complete celebration. And, just kind of talking a little bit about the music here, we have this really repetitive, what's called an ostinato, which is a repeating figure of music over and over again. Bum ba da bum bum ba da bum bum ba da bum. And in this piece, I mean, that happens the entire song, and it continues to layer all these bells, ding dong, ding dong, and as the text is just singing "Merry Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas," you know, Christmas is here, and it's a really cool, just huge celebration.
Right. And back to the original text again, then when you think about Christmas, you know, Christmas is one of those fixed holidays for us Christians. It is on a particular day, and that particular day is 4 days after we have been in the darkest day of the year, the 21st or the 22nd of December. And we are now looking at more light, more life, more hope, which is what the original Swallow song of spring was talking about at the New Year. So there is a slight connection there between the two. You can see why the gentleman would have thought, oh, this kind of fits together. It would be great if we had a text that included both of them somewhere. Maybe you'll have to write that text at some point. But just a beautiful transition. And again, this intermingling of cultures. Nothing is ever a standalone or done in a vacuum. You know, we are all connected, interconnected in the world.
Yeah. Definitely. So I hope you enjoy this piece, and if nothing else, you've learned that this is the 100th anniversary, and what a happy celebration for this beautiful piece.
Yes, amen. I'm Kim LaRue, Director of Adult Ministries.
And I'm Rachel Parfumchuk, Director of Music Ministries. Thanks for joining